Welcome to Stories of Survival, brought to you by Be Ready. In this series, survivors walk us through their disaster experience step by step, from the preparations they made to the things they wish they had done better. Our goal is simple: learn from real stories, build practical readiness, and help more families be ready for emergencies. Hey guys, it's Troy with Be Ready, and you're here today with episode 1 of Stories of Survival. Joining me today is the old man himself, the owner and proprietor of Be Ready. So, old man, why don't you tell us about the disaster you survived?
All right. It was December 2002. I was stationed in Guam. I was literally 3 weeks from leaving Guam, transferring back to the States, going to retire. And we got hit with a Cat 5 Typhoon. I think the strongest recorded wind speed was 175 mile an hour. And I think it had sustained winds of 144. They were up there. That typhoon lasted from the onset of winds till it passed the island about 12 hours. And it was the craziest thing I ever seen. We lived in base housing, had concrete walls. Mm-hmm. Water was shooting between the bricks. Water was coming through the keyhole in the door, the little eyesight thing to look out. If there was a way for the wind to push water, it came into the house. And to be honest, we weren't prepared whatsoever. I'd been in another, Cat 4 typhoon. When we first got to the island in 97, we went through a Cat 5. And the thing was, all the hotels, most of the grocery stores, even on base, the facilities had generators. Mm-hmm. So, losing power, it sucked. We had to, sleep 78, 80 degree weather with no air conditioner. But we were able to go to the commissary. We were able to go out in town to the restaurants, and eat. It was uncomfortable. But the one in December, on the backside of the storm, it caused a fire on the entire island's fuel depot. And we're talking the giant tanks. Ended up burning, I believe, 3 tanks, a jet fuel tank, and 2 diesel tanks, somewhere like that. The problem was they couldn't pump gas out. So nobody had gasoline. First day or two, you'd hear generators and housing running, then they would shut down, never start back up, because again, we had no way of getting gasoline, diesel fuel. So even the places in town that could have been open, they were closed because they couldn't get diesel to run their generators. And when I say we really didn't prepare, other than having one of these stoves here and about 6 balls of butane, that was really it. We would cook a pot of rice every other day and then have, beanie weenies or Vienna sausage or spam. I ate a lot of spam. It was very uncomfortable. We were getting about 3 or 4 gallons of water, not per person, for everyone in the house. So we had 4 people in the house. We were getting 3 or 4 gallons of water per person or for the family per day. And that was to drink, to try to wash off with, and to flush toilets.
So who brought you the water?
The USS Frank Cable was the tender that was assigned to Guam. Mm-hmm. And she had initially left port, dodged the typhoon, came back into port, and she was running her distillers, producing, taking salt water and producing fresh water
units.
Yeah, the island itself only had really one big source of fresh water. That was a small lake near the base, but there was so much rain in these typhoons when they hit that area of the Pacific that we're getting 20, 30 inches of rain or more on these typhoons. Yeah. So all that runoff into that lake, the lake literally looked like coffee with a little bit of creamer in it. It was so disturbed. So it was, taking a shower. There were people in housing at night because there wasn't no lights that would go outside and basically take a shower in the rain. Mm-hmm. We did have one neighbor. He had been in Guam before. Apparently he had lived through several of typhoons. Mm-hmm. So when he came back to the island, he was ready. He had two generators, a small Honda and a larger generator. And he had rigged up this little tool that he could basically take a car, put it down in it, bypass the block, and siphon gas out. He ran his big generator during the daytime to keep his refrigerator cold. All of his guys that were assigned to him brought their cars over. When it was all said and done, his yard looked like a used car lot. But I'll hand it to them. They had hot food, cold beer, and at night he would run the little Honda and had a little window air conditioner. And honestly, I think that was the worst thing, was the heat. Trying to sleep in that heat. The air is just, it doesn't move. Guam is always hot. I think we're 13 degrees north of the equator. Hindsight, if I had to go back to Guam today, I would do like that guy did. I would take, instead of a gas generator, I would definitely take solar generators.
Yeah.
Quiet, don't need the gasoline on them. They'll power what you need. And we were, base housing was without power for, I think, 18 days. We were lucky. There was places out in Guam that we left December the 23rd, I think, 24th, come back to the States permanently. But it was months before some of these folks out in, the civilian communities had electricity again.
Yeah. So how much of a forewarning did you have that the typhoon was coming?
We had, I think we had 2 or 3 days. Where Guam is located at, basically it's Typhoon Alley. Condition 4 is always set for typhoon readiness, which means we can expect a typhoon within 72 hours.
Yeah.
So we're always, the base was always in that readiness condition.
Okay. So the food you did have on hand, you said you had rice, basically some canned food, canned meats. Was that stuff you already had, or were you able to go get it?
It was. We already had it. And again, that was, I didn't know a thing about preparedness, getting ready. I'm like, hey, I'm on the military base. They'll take care of us. No. They were unable to. Basically, they could not take care of us. The commissary had to stay closed because they couldn't get diesel fuel to run their generator. We had no phone service. I mean, we had nothing.
So, looking back, you said solar generator. Is there anything else you think that would have come in handy?
Oh my goodness, yes. Some of these 72-hour packs would have been awesome. I would have went, if I had to go to Guam today, I would go with enough freeze-dried, dehydrated food to last me 45 days, honestly. Because once you're on Guam, you're not leaving.
Yeah.
Especially after an earthquake or a typhoon. And earthquakes now did go through a 7.0 and a 7.2 earthquake.
Yeah.
And it knocked out power for a couple of days.
So, you said that they brought you 3 to 4 gallons a day. How many people were in the house?
We had 4.
So 4.
Yeah.
So right at just enough water a day, right?
Just barely
Just
enough.
barely enough. So you think maybe like a water purification system?
Oh, definitely. With the amount of rain we had I had some kind of collecting mechanism, be a 55-gallon barrel or, that would have went so far.
Yeah. Okay.
And nowadays, we got, you can get a propane hot water on demand heater.
Oh, yeah.
Those things are a lifesaver. Because even when it's 80, 90 degrees outside, being able to have a warm shower, it makes you feel so much better.
Well, morale and mental health is
Yes.
a big deal during disasters. And I think it's something that a lot of people don't really think about. Food's great. Water's obviously very important. Shelter is one of the most important. But your mental health during these things.
Yeah.
How by the time it was fully over with, things were returned to as normal as they could be. How would you rate your mental health from the time it started to the time it was over?
Well, and the only reason I'm going to say this is because I was, transferring within a couple of weeks, so I knew, hey, I'm getting out of this. The other one, several months before that, July the 3rd or 4th, we had a Cat 4 hit. That one wasn't horrible, but there was nothing to do. Yeah, you go out in town to the restaurants, they had their generators going, but no television, no radio. I mean, there was absolutely nothing to do. And you sat there, in that heat, you're just sweating.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you'd see a rain shower come, and you're like, okay, it's going to cool off for about 10 minutes. Rain hits, cloud passes over, and the sun comes out, and it is a sauna.
Oh, yeah. So, obviously, being better prepared would have been ideal.
Yeah.
So what would you recommend to our viewers as far as, obviously typhoons in Kentucky aren't really a big thing, but we've got viewers all over the place. But tornadoes, we get a lot of heavy rains, flooding, earthquakes. If you could pick your, let's say, top 3 things that you would have liked to have had, what do you think those 3 things would have been?
I think the first thing would definitely have been a solar generator.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, even a very, very small window unit AC, or at least a fan,
Yeah.
you know, would have been so much better. But then the food, you know, I really didn't think about the food.
Yeah.
You know, hey, I'm on a naval installation, you know, go take care of us. No, they didn't take care of us. So definitely, you know, some type of freeze-dried foods, pitched in with some, you know, canned foods, but enough food to last, honestly, at least 30 days.
Yeah.
And then water, you know. I mean, the water we were given was to clean with, to flush the toilets with. So basically, we really had to conserve water. You know, having a water filtration system where I could have collected rainwater, that would have been so much better.
You talk about flushing toilets. I think that's another thing people really seem to forget about when they're doing their preps is that when you eat, you're going to use the bathroom. Yeah. And if you can't flush your toilet, you're basically creating in your house.
Oh, the smell is horrible. Yeah, and we had the philosophy on the island, because you live on an island, was, you know, if it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, then flush it down.
Yeah.
But it starts to smell because there's no ventilation.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, that's another good thing to look at is how you're going to deal with human waste, right? There's a lot of good options for that, you know. There's a lot of powders and different things you can mix with that now. Yeah, the poo powder like we carry here that absorbs moisture and helps cut down the smell. Or just a portable bathroom, you know, being able to move it outside, at least between uses, that kind of thing. I mean, I think that's something people really forget to think about. So, obviously, you're here now. You own a prepper and survival store.
I'm ready for the next one.
You're ready for the next one, right?
And it could be here, you know, 2009, we had that ice storm.
We did have a big ice storm.
And that, you know, while it was kind of centralized to, you know, a small area, relatively speaking, you know, people were without electricity and heat for, you know, up to 3 weeks, some even longer.
Yeah.
You know, and of all the things that can kill you the quickest is exposure.
Oh, yeah.
You can freeze to death in, you know, a matter of hours.
Yes.
You know, it takes about 3 days to actually, you know, die or, you know, start suffering the ill effects of dehydration, no water. You know, you can go a couple of weeks with no food, but the heat can kill you as well as the cold can kill you.
Oh, yeah. Cold can kill you quick.
Yes.
So, I was activated for the ice storm, and you were on a Navy base, and the government was really unable to take care of you.
Yeah, they were.
Here's a little bit of water every day. So I think that's something that a lot of people, there's a misconception there that we live in the United States. The government's going to come. The government's going to take care of me, you know, whether it be your local government, your state government, the federal government, you know, FEMA, and they're going to try their best. But I mean, you got
to remember, the government is made up of people like us.
Yes.
And if it's a severe disaster, you know, I love my fellow man, but I'm taking care of my family first.
Yeah.
I want to make sure they're taken care of before I go out and help, you know, assist others.
Yes.
Because if not, you're going to abandon your family that needs the help, and you go to help somebody else. Yeah. Help your family first. Help yourself first.
Yeah.
You know.
The takeaway
with neighbors.
Yeah. And the takeaway from this is, you know, if you follow the prepper community law, you always hear nobody's coming to save yourself. And that's a great philosophy, that prepare yourself to take care of yourself, your family, and then I'm going to worry about my neighbors. I'm going to worry about my subdivision, and on and on and out. Eventually, yes, will the government show up? Sure. But how much are they going to have? I know during the ice storm, they sent us to one county, and the emergency manager requested it was something like 5,000 MREs, and we said we have 300. That's all we had at the time that we hadn't already given out. We were waiting for more to come from out east, but it took time to get there. A lot of roads were still shut down, trees, power lines, stuff. I mean, stuff they were having to clear, and they were bringing in helicopters, but it still took time. And the number of people affected, it's a slow go.
Yeah, oh, it really is.
You know, FEMA recommends 72 hours
at least,
at minimum.
And that's bare minimum.
And that's bare minimum. That gives me enough time for what FEMA considers their response time. But the reality is, you know, at my household, we keep about 6 months worth of between dehydrated, canned foods, MREs, that kind of thing. And I know that does seem kind of excessive to a lot of people, but being in the National Guard, I'm going to get called away. I need to make sure my family has not just plenty for them, but I like to be able to think that if my neighbor needs some help, or if just someone in my community needs that help, I've got enough extra to get me through whatever could possibly happen. Water's a big deal. You know, we carry those 5-gallon jerry cans with the filters in them. They'll filter 5,000 gallons. At a gallon per person per day, that's 5,000 days for one person. We have a lot of groundwater here. Of course, we got Lake Markley and Kentucky Lake and all that. So I don't store as much fresh water as I would if I lived like in Arizona or something, or Guam, because I can collect fresh water and obviously filter it, purify it, and all that. You know, you really got to look at the overall of where you live, what the conditions are, how many people are in your house, that kind of thing. So, like, ideally, you'll want that gallon per person per day minimum, and that's going to get your cooking and your hydration. I always like to try to boost it up to about 1.5 gallons to maybe 2 gallons, because hygiene is super important.
Because in those situations, you get a small cut or minor stab wound, which normally, like, okay, it's fine. But in those conditions where, sanitation is kind of iffy. You're getting water from wherever you can. A small wound can get infected really fast.
Well, and you think about it this way, you said the wind was blowing hard enough to push water through the walls.
Yes.
Flying debris is a big deal.
Yes.
Enough wind busts out your window, you get cut with a piece of glass, sanitation's bad, you're not able to bathe regular. Obviously, access to antibiotics is probably going to be off the table. You really need to be able to take care of that. A small cut can fester quickly and turn what we normally see as something minor into a very major ordeal. Yes. Sepsis is very real.
Yes. And a couple of things I've learned here, doing this business, as a family, and broadening my knowledge of preparedness, that kind of thing is, if we're having severe storms, what people don't think about is their feet.
Yes.
Either keep your shoes on or have a pair of shoes right beside you. If you get hit by a tornado and part of your house is destroyed, guess what's all around? Glass, nails.
Yes.
And trying to find your way, around in the dark, especially with no shoes on, you're going to hurt yourself bad.
Oh, yeah.
Flashlights. Simple stuff.
Well, you
flashlights, candles.
I can walk through my house in the dark, no problems. But what if a tree falls through my house in the dark? Yes. Now I can't see, and everything has changed. And any hunter will tell you, if you walk through the woods at night, you're going to catch a limb in the eye. Never fails, right? I've done it. You've done it. We've all done it. Now imagine you cut your face open on that limb, and you're 3, 4, 5, 7 days from help coming. Because you look, our last tornado here a few years ago, there were entire sections of road that took us hours to get down because you couldn't drive down it. So we're going to have to hike. I've got to worry about down power lines that are still maybe have electricity in them. Folks, your firemen, your cops, your EMTs, your first responders, they want nothing more than to help you. I promise you that. I've been in public service my entire adult life, between the military, fire, EMS, law enforcement, all that. We want nothing more than to come help you. but sometimes that's more difficult than it sounds at face value. Sometimes we have to worry about, electricity, down power lines. We have to worry about, can we get our vehicles in there? Can we get you out of there? And then triage. We have to worry about this person. If they don't get to the hospital right away, they're going to die.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe you're just trapped in your house. You're not hurt, but do I have the manpower to come get you out of there?
Yep.
And so our last big tornado, it took about 4 days. And then you started seeing, one day we had hundreds of people show up to the courthouse wanting to go out and help, to the point we didn't even have enough for them to do. But obviously it took a few days to get there. They had their own problems they had to deal with. So we always tell people, help may be coming, but be prepared that it's not. If you look at, the potential of the New Madrid earthquake going off.
Oh, if that one hits, we're, 1811, 1812.
Yes.
The eyewitness accounts for that was, the ground had 14-foot swells like you'd see in the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Kentucky had just become a state only about 15 years earlier. There wasn't a lot of people living, especially far west Kentucky.
Yes.
The ones that did, they're cabins. Cabins basically caving in. Mississippi River flowed backwards. Imagine a scenario like that today.
Oh yeah.
It's bad to think about, but FEMA will tell you it's not if it happens, it's when it happens.
Yes.
And doing preparedness, that means, have your kits, have, bug in bags, bug out bags, have a plan. Because if you have a plan and something happens and you stick to that plan, you're going to get through that experience a whole lot easier.
Yes.
And your mental game, again, that's a biggie. That mental game, if you're prepared, you've got a plan, you're sticking to it, that goes a long way.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't know, if you're not prepared, you're going to freak out. And when you start freaking out, that's when bad things can start happening.
That is true. I can tell you this, folks. We sell all kinds of stuff here in our store, but the number one thing that will get you through a disaster is what's up here.
Yep.
If you don't have the knowledge, the skills, and the mindset to survive these disasters, no amount of anything we can sell you, no amount of anything you've bought on the internet is going to save you.
Yep.
So, that's one of the reasons we want to do these videos is we want to hear from the people who have survived these encounters, who have survived these disasters, how they did it, how they got through it, and what they're going to do better next time. Because we're going to have more tornadoes.
Oh, we are.
We're going to have earthquakes.
Yeah, we're the new tornado alley.
Yes, we're going to have more flooding. These things are going to happen. So, as always, we really appreciate you tuning in. Subscribe to us here on YouTube. Episode 2, Survival Stories, will be coming up here soon. We're going to talk to a nice lady over in Mayfield about her experience with the big tornado that ripped through there a few years ago. Come down here, see us at the store, sign up for some of our classes. We got a lot of those coming up, especially first of the year.
And those really go a long way, in your mindset. You know how to put on a tourniquet, when to put on a tourniquet, what not to do.
Yes.
If you have to do that, because, applying a tourniquet, can save a life, but if not done properly, it can cause more harm than good.
That's true.
And how to start a fire.
Yeah.
That's how to start a fire.
You'd be amazed people can't just start a fire.
Yep.
If you're interested in our classes, follow us on Facebook. That's where we're going to put those out. The dates, the times, what the topic will be. So make sure you check us out on there. Subscribe on YouTube. Hit that little notification bell. You don't want to miss these videos, folks. I think these are going to go a long way in helping people in not only our area, but all across the world. So thank you for tuning in, old man. We really appreciate it. And as always, be safe, be smart, and be ready.
Yep.